So, hello everyone. Today I am having Atul sir from SDBI Mumbai. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. What about you?
I am also fine, sir. Thanks so much for asking, and thank you so much for being a part of this program. And first question to you is, why do you like to be in a education sector rather than in other sectors?
Okay, first of all, thank you guys. Thank you for this opportunity. So, very good question because education, I feel, is the most important pillar of growth for country, for youth, for everything. And to be very honest, I will be very honest today in interview. I'm in education because I am a student. I consider myself as a learner, and the best way to learn things is by teaching, because the best criteria to evaluate whether you know something is how you explain it. If you explain well, it means you have understood it well. So this is my goal of being a trainer, being in education field, and the most important, to make this education pillar, like I will have my 0.001% contribution in making education pillar of the country better. That's my long-term goal, I feel so, and I'm quite passionate about training.
Very nice, sir. Very nice. And what is the key behind this successful career in this department?
As I said, the thing which actually like I most is learning. I like if I have to spend 12 hours a day in training, I become happy. Instead of become tiring, I become happy. So I realized I was a software engineer. I was working with a 9 to 6 shift. Even today, I work as a software developer for many organizations as a consultant. But I call myself as a trainer, not even teacher. Teacher is a big thing. But yeah, I like teaching. I like training. I like sharing knowledge. And for that, I read. I see basically being on Facebook, being on WhatsApp, being on Instagram, and learning things means you are doing kind of the thing which you do usually, and you're learning what can be the best, what could be the other best alternative to this, isn't it?
Very nice.
So
And
ultimately, being what you are doing same in your usual life and learning at the same time and getting paid for this thing is icing on the cake, isn't it?
it is most fortunate thing in life.
Exactly.
And another question to you is, what are your thoughts about education system of India?
See, this might be like very personal thoughts. Like I have seen many people criticizing Indian education system, which is traditional education system. Honestly, I tell you one thing, after looking in US, UK education system, which will make you highly skillful person in one skill. But India gives you opportunity of having knowledge of various sectors. There is a good saying in English that's jack of all and master of none. Actually, people interpret Indian education system like this: you become jack of all and master of none. But no, it's not like that. So you have a choice to become master of something, but similarly you can grab the opportunity to grasp things which are of different knowledge. For example, I'm an engineer. In the first year of engineering, I had in syllabus all types of engineering, like I'm a computer engineer, civil engineering, electronic engineering, electrical engineering. See, these are the basics. They teach you fundamentals of all the aspects, but they ask you to become master of computers. They ask you to become master of software development or something which you like. So it's up to your choice how you dig deep in one particular domain, syllabus, skill, and explore the parallel skills simultaneously. So I think this is probably the one of most thoughtful and most excellent education system in the world. There might be issues in implementation because we became marks oriented instead of being knowledge or skill oriented, but slowly we are going towards that. And I believe our youth has a power to explore this in innovations.
Very nice, sir. Our education system is too good, but still having some queries in it, and we hope that it will be definitely completed by upcoming education system. And another question to you is, what is a USP of your institute, or like what is the best part of your institute which is different from others?
See, basically these kind of things are very restrictive to institute. Like these are USPs, like how this particular dish is special in this shop only. Like that, I would say the flexibility to trainers. They are like, see, after closing your classroom door, you are the owner of your classroom. So the way you teach, the way the flow of syllabus, the interaction with students, for everything we have great freedom, I would say. They don't interact, not interaction is the wrong word, they don't interrupt in the thought process of, because see, Atul knows few subjects like big data, data science, analytics and all. But there might be few good people, trainers in market which are better than Atul. But the thing is, Atul has his own process, his own way of conducting things. They don't distract that. They don't interrupt that. They give all the freedoms. They give you good platform environment for establishing good communication, good relationship with students. And that's where I feel students become more comfortable with trainer, and they can interpret well things. And that's the key, I would say, of SDBI. Very well structured syllabus, very well structured plan of execution, but at the same time, the agility offered for trainers and students is amazing.
Very nice, sir. Very nice. And as a teacher, as a trainer, what do you think about the youth of our country?
So I have immense respect for youth. Like, I will tell you this in kind of longitude format, in a story format. When I bought my first Android phone, I was like, I had a first job in my hand, and I asked my dad that this particular mobile is really good. I want to buy that stuff. It took me like 7 days, 8 days to understand all the menus, all the settings and all. Very basic things, Samsung Galaxy 580. I'm quite passionate about gadgets. Huh? So I see a lot of youth guys grab these things within few seconds, few minutes, few hours. So that tells you about IQ of technology get developed, like evolution. I call this as a technical evolution. So even if you ask a commerce guy about any Android phone, where I can find this menu, they can tell you like blindly, go to this, find this. So I feel this very nice, because I feel these guys are becoming, what is the good word? I would say educated. Educated is a wrong word here. This is inherent. So technical knowledge for these guys is inherent. So if you see White Hat Junior is being like criticized a lot for their like what kind of ad they are making. Coding. But honestly, let's take away the fun part of it. Let's take serious part of it. Coding is going to be skill of everyone in coming time. Like, everyone should know code. They might be a software developer or might not be a software developer, because every industry is moving towards technology. Everyone wants their presence online. And how can they be online without knowing technology, isn't it? And I feel the youth is very good in the technical knowledge. They are keen about knowing technical things, and that will make India a very, very, very different country than others. And you all guys know the demographic dividend. India is a young country, isn't it? The average age is around 25 to 30. Yes. So that's a key factor. You will be seeing lot of innovations. I really respect the guys like Ola, then Oyo. The innovations they have done, they are youth. Like Oyo, Ritesh was like 19 years old when he got that idea, and he implemented. He became a billionaire around 27. So that tells you the whole story. Yeah, things apart, like people do, like time pass and TikTok. So people do laugh a lot about TikTok, but don't you think in the era of technology where we have great infrastructure, internet is so good, where you are going to get content for entertainment? So the idea is people are generating content. Yeah, that can be point of criticism or point of debate, but yes, youth is talented for sure. I would rate them 10 times more than me. Means when I was very young at the age of learning, I was nowhere in competition to these guys. I really respect them. These are going to give you innovative future for sure. Thank you.
Very nice, sir. So we can simply say that our youth is easily adaptable for technology.
For sure.
So what do you think? What will be the next challenges for your institute in upcoming time?
I feel now people are so much adapted to things like online training and all. People will hesitate to come classroom because see, classroom, whatever is there in the technology, nothing can replace face-to-face communication, right? Because the gestures also tell my emotion, isn't it? And in online, there are always, like, see, in technology, nothing is impossible. It's just matter of time. But for time being, I feel face-to-face communication and these things will be important, rather very important. And soon we will be witnessing normal times for sure, touch wood. One thing as a key challenge I would like to tell everybody, adopting with changing technology is the challenge in front of all the institutes. The way the pace of change of technology is so fast that even students are confused what to learn. Will this be irrelevant in coming time, or should I go for something which will fetch like AI, ML, deep learnings? There are so many things what to learn. So the challenge is coping up with changing pace of technology is the biggest challenge every education institute will have, is having, and was in their list.
Right, sir, right. And what do you do to make a healthy relationship with your students and with your teammates?
Very simple one word, just speak. There was one really nice advertisement from Airtel. Barriers, means there was a border, like India-Pakistan border. There were two soldiers. They exchanged cup of tea and they exchanged some thoughts, and they were like friends. So that ad tells you many things. And the tagline was, barriers break when people talk. So if I keep talking with students on this functional part, formal part, they will be like, this is the trainer, this is the usual process. If I speak, if I try to understand their problems, like, I can't directly, because some people are like hesitant to explain their condition or situation in front of many people. So you have to establish a communication with every student in different way. I just try to find out this by telling some stories, jokes. I try to listen them. I keep asking foolish questions so that the overall atmosphere of classroom will be very light. People should feel comfortable. They will be like, ये trainer तो अपने जैसा ही यार. He's just part of us. So that's the way I try to adopt in my classrooms.
So try to more and more communicate with the students. You will get you a better outcome. And
informal, make more informal communication to make them formal is my goal.
Very nice. And another question to you is, what do you do in your free time, or like what is your favorite unprofessional activity do you do?
Honestly, this has become a very famous or viral thing lately, but I really enjoy one thing, clicking photographs by using my DSLR. Like the second thing I love after my son is my DSLR cam. Not even mobile cam, but DSLR cam. So one thing I learned from, and I click photographs for my satisfaction. I have uploaded few things on Instagram and on social platforms, but not really. I have 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte of photographs, which I did not even touch. I just go someday on off, completely switch off from my regular routine and just go through those photographs. And I memorize, for this bird, I have to do these many things. I kept watching this particular tree for 2 hours, and then that particular bird came. This was story of bee eater, green bee eater. And then I went for a kingfisher. I spent a whole day near water reservoir, and in the evening, I got a chance to click that. So it taught me patience. It taught me observation skills. And you don't pay me, just give me camera, give me food. I will be doing that for lifetime, for sure.
Very nice. And another thing is, what is your definition of hard work? Like, how do you define a hard work?
Okay. See, basically, the hard work is something, the point at which you feel, the break-even point at which you feel that this concept I'm quite comfortable with. So do whatever you want, like read books, see videos, write something. It's up to you personally. But at the point where you satisfy yourself that, okay, now I can explain it, that is hard work for me. It's not means it's not quantifiable, honestly. For me, it would be 10 days. For you, it would be 1 hour. So it's just sense of learning something. So unless you learn something, keep trying. And how you try is irrelevant. And that's hard work for me, at least.
And the last question to you is, how do you set your goals? Can you just outline the process?
Yeah. See, basically, as the most of the structural business organizations, especially MBA guys and MBA institutes, set the two different things about goals. There are two goals: short-term goals and long-term goals. So long-term goals are very difficult to even thought of. Like, what should be your long-term goal and how you are going to achieve. Short-term goals, see, basically I do lot of things which I have learned in software engineering. I'm quite passionate about softwares, and I do establish relevance in my life according to software processes as well. So in software processes, I would like to tell you one thing. There is a process called as agile process model. And in the agile process model, this is simply a faster way of achieving things, but in very planned way. Flexibility is there. So what we used to do in agile, we used to divide our goals in smaller tasks and prioritize those tasks, and according to smaller tasks, achievable tasks, you think so those achievable tasks according to priority, start working on them, and you achieve your goal, bigger goal, long-term goal.
So to achieve a long-term goal, we have to make many short-term goals. Okay.
And prioritize them.
Okay, very nice, and nice to meet you, sir. And it was very good experience with you.